Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tasty Meat Chunks here. What a weird weekend this was. I almost lost my TikTok because of the TikTok ban, and I also passed 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all. Holy crap. Like, seriously, I did not think that this would happen again. So to celebrate this, I think there's going to be 2 videos this week. The one you're watching now, which is going to be a Captain America guide, because holy hell, people are sleeping on this character. Oh my god, he fucking hung himself! Cap, no! And one later this week that's a bit more of a general tips guide for doing better in this game. Because wow, people are not good at being flexible in Marvel Rivals, and it's holding them back.
Iron Man, I just want to stress this to you. I'm glad that you're doing good on like Iron Man, but this is unbearable for me to play right now. You're getting the value, so I'm gonna stay, but holy shit, I hate this. I hate it.
Oh my god, did you drown in the fucking Brita filter? Did you drown in the Brita? I heard
Captain America is one of the best tanks in this season. He is super slept on because of his survivability. And because of his survivability, it allows him to basically rush through the enemy team and heavily pressure backlines, opening up the front line and other characters for picks. The reason why most people are sleeping on Captain America is because either 1, they don't know how to better utilize his kit, 2, they don't know what his ultimate does, 3, they don't know what his general mouse 1 attack does, and 4, they're expecting him to be completely unkillable and just brawl people, instead of a constant annoyance for the backline. Cap is not a numbers farming character, aside from maybe damage blocked, but that doesn't win you games. No, he is a tank in the most true sense of the term. The way that you win on this character is by creating space and opportunities for your team, the same as every tank, but with Cap it's a lot more literal than other tanks are. Assemble!
I probably shouldn't yell.
Think he hits that shit.
A noise complaint.
Think he hits that shit with Peggy. That 1940s pussy got me acting unwise. The first thing that people are getting wrong about Cap is his M1. Once you get 2 stacks of this, you get access to ranged attacks. This means you do not have to be spending your entire time up in someone's face like this. The other thing people are missing out on Cap with is the fact that you can animation cancel your melee with your sprint. This doesn't really make it faster, but it does mean that you are able to chase down opponents that other melee characters could not because you're much faster. As for the rest of your abilities, you have a shield toss that will reflect between opponents. I find that this is best used while jumping in before you hit the rest of your combos. You have a shield bash, and you have your dive, which is going to be your primary engagement option. For the most part, this character is going to play very similar to Tank Doomfist in Overwatch 2. This means you are going to dive in, hit some cooldowns, punch out. Or, well, not punch out, shield bash out. As for your ultimate, this basically makes you functionally immortal. It also gives you a movement boost, and anyone following along this red, white, and blue track behind you will also get access to the bonus health, as well as getting a movement boost. This means that much like Magneto, when you are looking for a defensive ult on a tank, Cap is one of your best options. It also means as Cap, you should avoid using this when your supports have their ultimates because it's basically a second Luna Snow ult. So if you've got a Luna and a Mantis and you double stack this ult with one of theirs, you are wasting a defensive ult. It's a bit more situational, so I would use this primarily selfishly for yourself. But if you are not playing Cap and you are playing these other characters, be cautious of that. Now his team up is an amazing power up because it basically just gives you permanent access to the ranged attacks. So I would honestly recommend using this where you get access to the ranged attack, then pop this once that is done so you can continue backline pressure. Now how about characters that you should look out for in Cap and characters Cap is good into and good with? Cap does really well with something like a Luna Snow Snowflake on him because this means he gets constant sustain while in dives. He also pairs really well with characters like Venom, Hulk, Spider-Man, Black Panther, basically anyone that wants to dive a backline, he is going to do well with. He can function pretty well as a solo tank if your team is running a bit more of a dive-heavy comp, because Cap can take the cooldowns and the aggression from other characters, allowing him to be a lot more frontline focused while the other DPS can pick apart the backline. He is not the best in terms of peeling and defending your backline. He's more of a trade backlines character. If you are looking for a solo tank that's a bit better at holding space in your backline while also having good peel, I would look for more characters like Strange, Magneto, or Groot. But as we are starting to go into a bit more of a triple support meta, and characters like Wolverine are very prominent, this means that dive characters are going to be stronger. Therefore, Captain America is going to be stronger. And since Wolverine is strong, Cap is one of maybe 2 tanks that I can see having a consistently strong Wolverine matchup. The big part in beating Wolverine is having something for once your character gets scooped that prevents the bulk of his damage from hitting you and lets you start to reposition back to your team. The only 2 characters that have a pretty solid answer to this would be Magneto's bubble and Cap's shield. Cap's shield is on a much shorter cooldown because at all times you basically have it up, and it will be off cooldown by the time you land. Cap's shield blocks all this damage, which means you then basically gotta just jump and punch your way out with your shield bash and get back to your team. For your general gameplay loop, I would recommend that you jump into their backline with their dive, look for one of their less mobile supports, preferably one that doesn't have a CC option, and hit them as much as you can till your health reaches about half, jump up, and punch your way back to your team. I would say that Cap pairs best with Thor, but there are maps that are good for Cap and bad for Thor where it's not really going to be a situation for him to function at his best. Cap works really well sort of near chokes because he can get in and out of the choke point easily and put pressure on their backline, weakening the front line. Characters that are a bit scary to deal with on Cap. Wolverine, even though he is a pretty good matchup, can still be pretty scary. So you're going to have to play a little bit more cautiously while he's on the field. Any team comp that has triple DPS can be a little bit brutal to go into. He obviously struggles pretty hard when fighting flyers, because even with his range stuff, that still requires someone to let you get the first 2 stacks to hit the range targets, and flyers are going to be pretty rough to hit in midair. You can sometimes just catch them if you have good jump movement, but I wouldn't recommend going for flyers that often. You also can reflect a lot of ultimates with your shield, but that does not make you immune to characters like Iron Man or Punisher ults. It just means that you're a little bit more survivable. Cap is a bit of an APM demon, which means you want to be doing as much as possible at all times. You basically want to have 0 downtime. You don't want to hard commit to dives because that's usually when you end up dead. And you want to be really careful when you're diving characters like Mantis because her CC can go through your shield, or Luna Snow because you're going to need to have that shield ready to reflect her CC. Good rule of thumb while playing any dive character, but especially on Cap, always assume every enemy has a CC cooldown unless you just saw it used. If you have not blocked it with your shield, they have it. Speaking of CC options that ruin Cap, Penny. Penny is a really brutal matchup to play Cap into. Groot can be, but it depends on the map. If he is cutting off choke points that are doors, it is a terrible map to play into Groot. If he is cutting off choke points that are open air, it's actually a pretty good matchup to play Cap. It's all based on whether or not Groot can completely box you in. If he can't completely box you in, you get full range resets off of his walls, and you're basically immortal if he ults you, either with shield or your own ultimate. Another important thing to remember with Cap is because you're going to be focusing down their backline as much as possible, one of your main goals, especially going into such a support-heavy meta, is going to be trying to get supports to panic ult in their backline before a full team fight has started. Because of the fact that Cap can always be pressuring, you're going to see a lot of ults coming out of their backline that they really didn't need to pop. If you can trade a Cap ult for a Luna Snow ult, that's a positive trade. If you can trade Cap pressure for a Luna Snow ult, your team is up astronomically. Now, when would I say there are times to not play Cap? The main time I'd say you shouldn't play Cap is when your team is playing mostly long-range poke. Yes, Cap can work in these instances, but you're not really going to have the follow-up that a dive tank needs in order to secure their picks. And Cap on his own doesn't really have the resources needed to solo dive and get picks super consistently. It can work, but it's not going to be your most effective option. In a lot of these instances, I would recommend Magneto or Strange over Cap, but when you are playing with like a Lord Black Panther or a Lord Spider-Man, there are a few characters that are a better option to pair tank-wise than Cap. Just keep an eye out for the Namors and the Pennies and the Wolverines out there that are going to be hard targeting you while you absolutely destroy their backlines. Hope this gives you the inspiration you need to assemble all over their backline. See you guys later this week with another video I made. Not a character tutorial, but let me know what characters you want to know more about how to play in the comments down below. We'll make another one, or if you want to see other content. Tasty Meat Chugs signing out.